This is Donna Taggert, the dietitian for Department of Aging and Human Services. So March is National Nutrition Month. I feel like I talk to you all about nutrition every month, so I'm not going to do anything specific for National Nutrition Month, but just know that it's been around since 1973. It was established by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and it's their annual campaign to promote nutrition education and awareness to people out in the world. So hopefully that's what I'm doing every month for you. So anyway, I decided to focus on National Sleep Awareness Month. It's celebrated March 9th to the 15th. So why is sleep so important? Well, there is a clear link that exists between insufficient sleep and cardiovascular disease and inflammation. And we know inflammation is a big cornerstone of a lot of our chronic diseases. Insufficient sleep is defined as less than 6 hours of sleep per night, and it's associated also with increased brain disease, Alzheimer's, increased cancer risk. In fact, the World Health Organization has considered sleep disturbances as a probable carcinogen. It's interesting. It also is linked with increased body weight and fat mass, and it affects our bone mass as well. Reports indicate 37% of U.S. adults get less than 6 hours of sleep. The recommended amount is 7 to 9 if you're from age 26 to 64, and greater than 65, it is 7 to 8 hours. So sleep impacts our diet and vice versa, and not enough sleep increases our food consumption, especially the high-calorie foods. Less than 5 hours a night has been linked with increased risk of obesity because the increased cravings of sweets and salty foods, the increased ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone, and leptin is decreased, which is our appetite suppressant. So it's all setting us up for weight problems with lack of sleep. So what can we do? Well, one, we need to improve our sleep habits, and then I will talk to you more about nutrition. Number one on the list of sleep habits is to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every day. Don't try to make up things over the weekend or stuff. That's just going to interfere with your sleep. Number two is improve our sleep hygiene. They say temperature of your bedroom should be between 62 and 68 degrees. Light is important. If you can look at your hands in front of your face when you're laying in bed, too much light, and you need to find out where that light is coming from. Sometimes it's just taking little black electrical tape and taping over those little lights on certain devices that you don't even know are emitting light, but they do. I know you can have darkening shades. I don't have them. I live back in the woods where it's pretty dark, no street lights. But I notice when the full moon, it's pouring in my window. So you have to, just be careful of not letting too much light get in. Sound, if you have a lot of sounds around, they say white noises kind of mask those sounds, and your brain can't engage in those white noises, so it doesn't start singing along to a song you're hearing or something like that. Devices. This is a big one. Turning off our devices at least 60 minutes before we go to bed. That includes the TV, our Kindles, our tablets, our phones, because of the light they emit. The blue light decreases that production of melatonin, and we'll talk about melatonin in a few minutes. Getting a good mattress. We spend a third of our life in our beds. Addressing stress. Stress can affect our sleep, so sometimes doing a light exercise, maybe yoga, hot bath before you go to bed can help decrease the stress. And napping is important too. Never take too long of a nap. They recommend not more than an hour, and also not late in the day. After 2 or 3 p.m., it's going to interfere with your sleep. So those are some of the sleep habits, but what about nutrition? Like I said, nutrition can affect our sleep, and our sleep can affect our eating behaviors. So the first thing is try to avoid a large meal before you go to bed. When you lay down, you've got a large amount of food, especially if it's high-fat type foods in your stomach. It's going to stay there longer, and it can press up on your esophagus, give you acid reflux, just interfere with good sleeping. Also, caffeine. Caffeine has a high half-life, 5 hours of half-life. So they recommend stopping drinking caffeine between about 8 to 10 hours before you go to bed. So if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, that means by 2 p.m., you need to cut off the caffeine. And even if you're a person, you say, I can drink a cup of coffee and go right to sleep, it shows that caffeine interferes with our sleep quality, even if you can get to sleep. They recommend no more than 400 milligrams, which is about 4 8-ounces cups of coffee. Decreasing alcohol and tobacco. Alcohol, your last drink should be about 2 hours before you go to bed, so it doesn't interfere with your sleep. And smoking actually depletes vitamin C, which is linked with poor sleep. So obviously, there's a lot of reasons not to be smoking, but that also to affect your sleep. Drinking less fluids before bed. Now, sometimes it's hard if you're on medications and stuff, so talking to your doctor, maybe figuring out what you can do about that so you don't have to get up in the middle of the night. There are specific meals and foods for better sleep. One they did a study on is called tart cherry juice. They did a study, 8 ounces in the morning, 8 ounces at night, and they found that it added 84 minutes to people's sleep time. Tart cherry juice is hard to drink. It's very tart. If you get the ones with sugar in it, then that's defeating the purpose, and it can be expensive. But what's in tart cherry juice that's so special, it actually helps produce, increase the levels of melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone. It's produced in our brain, and it helps with our sleep-wake cycle. And the levels start to rise in our body a couple hours before bed. That's why consistency in our bedtime, it knows when to rise. And darkness will trigger extra production of melatonin. So again, that light plays a lot of roles in preventing the melatonin from being produced. They did do a study where they found melatonin, magnesium, and zinc helped older adults with insomnia, but it hasn't had especially impressive results because of the synthetic melatonin, but it is useful in traveling. So if you're traveling across 2 time zones, melatonin to take a supplement is good. It's not harmful, and they say to start with 1 to 3 milligrams. But the most important thing is, what can we eat that will help produce that natural melatonin in our body? There are a few nutrients that are really crucial in that: potassium, calcium, and magnesium. And the interesting thing is, we used to hear, oh, drink a glass of hot milk before we go to bed. Well, that's not right. I mean, what am I trying to say? It actually works. You don't have to have it hot, but the package of milk has those potassium, calcium, and the magnesium in it. So it actually is producing melatonin by drinking that milk. Any kind of small snack that has those components, like cottage cheese and fruit, bananas with nut butter, almonds with some dried tart cherries, are all going to bring that combination of the potassium, the calcium, and magnesium that will help with the melatonin. Now, again, you don't want to eat the snack right before you go to bed, but maybe an hour or two, especially if you eat dinner early, an hour or two before bed, a light snack has actually helped with controlling your blood sugars. When your blood sugars start to drop during the night, it will wake you up, so you go eat something. And most people are not eating healthy things. They're eating higher caloric, snacky type foods when they're snacking in the middle of the night. A big study by NHANES, which is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, 26,000 adults, they found that people with short sleep were often deficient in those nutrients I talked about, the calcium, the magnesium, the potassium, but they were also deficient in vitamins A, C, and D. Magnesium deficiency is associated with very short sleep and daytime sleepiness. Magnesium are in your nuts, your seeds, your legumes, leafy green vegetables, dark chocolate, and dairy. Now, vitamin D has receptors in the brain that regulate sleep. So if you're deficient with vitamin D, it really increases your risk of sleep disturbances, poor sleep quality, short duration of sleep, and daytime sleepiness. And vitamin D is in not a lot of foods. It's in fortified dairy, so milk is fortified with vitamins A and D. It's in the fatty fishes, and you get it from the sunlight hitting your skin. But many people, especially in the wintertime, tend to be deficient in vitamin D and might need a supplement. The doctor can check your blood levels for that and then make recommendations for that. Vitamin C is associated with low sleep, and it's, of course, being depleted if you're smoking. Vitamin C is in your citrus and tomatoes. Vitamin A, again, I mentioned, is fortified in milk. Inadequate vitamin A associated with short sleep, and so it's in also dark green and dark orange vegetables. Omega-3s influence the regulation of serotonin that regulates our sleep, and omega-3s are in our fatty fishes, flax seeds, and nuts. I don't know if you're starting to see, again, a kind of a pattern of your nuts, your seeds, your legumes, your vegetables, your dairy, fatty fishes are all bringing things to the table that will help you actually sleep. And then finally, sleep can be affected by the bigger nutrients like protein. If you don't get enough protein, it impairs your sleep quality. But if you get too much protein, it can cause difficulty in maintaining your sleep. So again, how much protein we need, you can go back to some of the old YouTube things, and I did something on protein to figure out just how much protein you do need. Refined carbohydrates, that's your cakes and cookies and pies, ice cream, all that kind of stuff, again, can affect our sleep. And interesting enough, they found that people who omitted breakfast and had irregular meals also was associated with poor sleep. So getting, it sounds like, regularity in our eating habits, regularity in our sleeping times are so crucial for that up and down rhythm of the melatonin and serotonin in our brains and stuff. So anyway, sleep is important. If you're not getting the required amounts, kind of assess what are your sleeping habits. Maybe there's things you need to change. There'll be a PDF that you can print out and really look at things in detail for that. Trying to get consistent sleep times, avoiding your large meals before bed, cutting back on caffeine after a certain time of day, watching how much alcohol and really limiting it closer to bedtime. Of course, not smoking. Looking at the stress in your life, see if there's any way you can, help lower that stress level, because, you can lay in bed and all of a sudden your brain clicks on and you're thinking about everything because you're stressed about stuff. So really helping with that is important. Turning off those devices an hour ahead of time. I think that's the hardest thing for most people. Looking at your phone right before you go to bed is not good. That blue light that's emitted, and those filters, those glasses, they do a little bit, but they really don't totally protect from that. And so the melatonin is still being, not produced like it should be when you're looking at all those devices. So again, pick up a book. A regular old book is not going to affect you. Okay, so also the diet. Lots of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes. I say this all the time, but obviously it's good for our heart, it's good for our brains, it's good for our bones, and it's really good for our sleep. So good luck, and I hope you have some sweet dreams over the next few nights and enjoy your sleeping time. Bye.